You know, when you think of Goa, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably the beaches, right? The green hills, that one-of-a-kind culture. But there's this constant pull, this tension between keeping Goa Goa and allowing for new growth and development. How do you manage that without losing what makes the place so special? Well, the answer lies in this really important legal framework, and today we're going to unpack how it all works.
I mean, really think about it. Who gets to say, yep, a new apartment building can go up right there? Or that beautiful open field? It's going to be a shopping center now. These huge decisions don't just happen out of thin air. There's a system, a set of rules that's supposed to be guiding all of this. And that's exactly what we're diving into today, the official rulebook for Goa. So here's our game plan. First, we'll get into the big why, like, why is planning even a thing? Then we'll look at Goa's specific rulebook, who the key players are, and what their plans actually look like. After that, we'll walk through the process for getting permission to build, see what happens when people break the rules, and wrap it all up with why this law is so important for everyone. Okay, so why bother with all this planning? Well, just imagine the opposite for a second. A total free-for-all. Anybody can build anything, anywhere they want. You'd get factories right next to schools, giant buildings blocking amazing views, roads that just end. It would be chaos, right? Unplanned growth just doesn't work. It stretches our resources thin, and worse, it can totally chip away at the character of a place. The goal isn't to stop change, it's to guide it. And that right there is the key idea. This isn't about freezing Goa in time and saying, no more progress. Not at all. It's about being smart, about creating a path for sustainable development. And to do that, you need a really solid framework. So, what is this framework? It's this, the Town and Country Planning Act. This law, first put on the books way back in 1974, is the official rulebook. It lays out the entire system for deciding how land, both in the country and in the cities, gets used. Now, don't let that 1974 date fool you. This isn't some old, dusty law that just sits on a shelf. It's a living, breathing document. It really got going in '76, and since then, it's been updated again and again. Like in '97, a huge amendment was added to stop people from cutting down hilly land. Fast forward to 2018, they added modern tools to the mix. And it was updated as recently as 2020, so it's constantly evolving to face new challenges. Okay, so we have this rule book, but who exactly are the people using it and what are they creating? Let's get into the mechanics, starting with the key players and the master plans they come up with.
You can kind of think of it like a pyramid. Right at the very top, you've got the government, which gives the final stamp of approval on everything. Advising them is the Town and Country Planning Board, which is made up of ministers, experts, and department heads. Then, on the ground level, you have the planning and development authorities, and they handle specific local areas. The person making sure all the technical details are right is the chief town planner. It's a whole system of checks and balances.
And what do all these people create? Well, mostly two kinds of blueprints. First, there's the regional plan. Think of this as the big picture sketch. It looks at a whole region and says, okay, this huge area is for farming, that section over there is for industry, and we absolutely have to protect these forests. It's the grand vision. But then you have the development plan. This is the super detailed blueprint for one specific town or area. It gets into the real nitty-gritty, exactly where the roads go, where the parks are, what land is for housing, and all the specific rules, like how high you can build.
Now, the Act uses this word development all the time, and its definition is really, really important. It's super broad on purpose. It's not just about putting up a new building. It's any kind of engineering work, dividing a plot of land, or making any big change to a building or a piece of land. This huge, all-encompassing definition is what gives the Act its real power to manage pretty much any change you can make to the landscape.
All right, so this brings us to the really practical stuff. If you're a regular person who wants to build a house or open a shop, how do you actually get the official green light for your development?
Well, Section 44 of the Act lays it out in a pretty clear three-step process. First, you have to submit a formal application to your local planning and development authority. Step 2, they take your plans and check them against the master development plan for your area to make sure everything lines up. And finally, Step 3, they make a decision. They either give you permission but with a few conditions, or they refuse it, and they have to tell you why.
But, of course, what's a rulebook without a section on what happens when you break the rules? The Act has serious teeth when it comes to any kind of unauthorized construction. It's really not something you want to mess with.
And the language in the law, in Section 51, is about as direct as it gets.
It basically says, if you start any kind of development without getting the proper permission first, or if you ignore the conditions you were given, you are breaking the law. Period. There's no gray area. And the punishments can be pretty severe. I mean, they're designed to make you think twice. For example, Section 17B deals with illegally cutting hilly land. If you get caught doing that, you could be facing a fine of up to 10 lakh rupees. And that's not even counting possible jail time. The message is loud and clear. Breaking these rules will cost you. And it's not just about fines. The authorities have real power. They can slap a stop work notice on a project, halting everything instantly. They can order the illegal building to be torn down. They can even make you restore the land back to the way it was before you touched it. And if you still don't comply, they can take you to court. They have the tools to take real action. So we've gone through the rules, the planners, and the penalties. But let's zoom out. What does all this actually mean? Why should a law from nearly 50 years ago matter to any of us? Right here, right now. Here's the bottom line. The Town and Country Planning Act is way more than just a bunch of building codes. It is the single most important tool there is to make sure that as Goa grows, it does so in a structured, sustainable way that benefits everyone, not just a select few. It's the framework that's meant to protect the very soul of Goa. See, just understanding how the system works is a huge first step. The whole process is designed to have moments where the public can actually weigh in. Knowing the rules means you can participate. This act isn't just for bureaucrats and politicians. It affects every single person who lives here. So that really leaves just one big question for all of us. Now that you know the rules of the game, how are you going to help shape the future of your own community?